back, everyone, to a brand new episode of Virtual Coffee. My name is Alexa Collier, and on this podcast, I sit down and speak with accomplished and innovative early career professionals and small business owners. We discuss their journeys, their advice, where they're at with their businesses. And with me today is Endless Love Harris. She is the founder and owner of Soleil and Clay. Endless sells homemade clay earrings on Etsy, and besides running Soleil and Clay, she is a full-time social media graduate student and a visual storyteller through video creation. She graduated from Biola University in 2017 with a degree in journalism and integrated media, and has since leveraged her storytelling and multimedia expertise in a variety of experiences, such as being an intern for a major TV network and Los Angeles-based radio station, a social media manager, and news producer for her college's news team. You can find Soleil and Clay on Instagram, and you can find more of Endless's work on her portfolio site, which is endlessloveanderson.com. Now, before we get into Endless's story, I would greatly appreciate if you could rate and review the podcast on the Apple Podcasts app. You can also listen to our podcast on a variety of podcast platforms, including Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, Pandora, etc. We greatly appreciate the support, and you can also find Virtual Coffee on Facebook and Instagram. It's at Virtual Coffee Podcast. Now with that, let's get into Endless's journey. Welcome, Endless. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be chatting with you.
Yeah, me as well. I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. So first, I'd love to hear everything about your company, Soleil and Clay. And can you walk us through that journey from when you first had the idea for Soleil and Clay to where you are now with the business?
Of course. So this all really just started as a fun kind of arts and crafty project for me. Unfortunately, I was furloughed from my job just due to everything going on in the world right now. And I had saw these clay earrings and I was like, wow, these are pretty cool. And I was like, maybe I can make them. Like I have so much free time on my hands. And so it really started out as a project for myself. I'm a DIY type of person. I always rather try to DIY it before I can make it, just kind of as a fun challenge to myself. And so that's just what I did. So I ordered some clay online and I just kind of started experimenting with it. And I'd showed, my friends and my family, and they were like, wow, we really like these. And my husband was like, maybe like you could try selling them. And I'd never tried to sell any of my DIY projects before. I'd kind of just make them for friends and family, like as they requested. So I was like, okay, like sure, but I don't think anybody's really gonna buy them. There are other clay earring shops out there. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm really needed in this space. And at the time, I'm focusing on trying to get my career on track. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the leap of faith. And I ordered a little bit more clay, started practicing a little bit more, and went ahead and just, made myself an Instagram, made myself a Facebook. And about a month after I had started creating, I went ahead and made my Etsy account officially. And it's been so great. And I am so glad that I went ahead and did that because it's just been such a fun journey. And I know it's only been just a short few months, but it's honestly been so neat to just see people want to purchase, something that I created and they get to actually wear that and wear it out in the world. And so that's pretty much how it came to be. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You must be such a creative and crafty person because all those are handmade and they're beautiful pieces and just seems like it kind of started from a hobby or an idea. Let me just order some clay online, and now here are these beautiful pieces that you're able to sell to people around the country, which is incredible. I'm curious how you differentiate yourself and your business, whether it's on Instagram or on Etsy. Perhaps the marketing side of your business. How do you make sure your products are standing out on, say, Instagram or other social media sites?
Yeah. So as I, mentioned before, there's tons of tons of, men and women selling clay earrings. And it's hard because, sometimes without even thinking, you can come up with this great idea in your head for a design. And then 2 weeks later, you end up seeing it and you're like, man. And so sometimes that's a little hard, but it's also kind of cool because it's like all these people that are making these are so creative and they're so passionate about what they're doing. But for me specifically, so right now I'm actually studying to get my master's in social media. And so that's definitely helped me a lot with my social strategy. And so, really, just in the early stages of when I started my Instagram, it was very experimental, trying to see what people liked, what they didn't like, what they would gravitate more towards. And so, really, I try to base my designs off of things that I would wear personally, but I know that others would too. So typically I like to make statement earrings. And before I even started making clay earrings, I would always, if I was out, I'd have a pair of earrings in my ear. They would be big, funky, like different colors, patterns. And so that is the way that I like to make a statement with my outfit. And so I typically like to go a little bit out of the box, but I know that that's not comfortable for everybody. And so I said, I want to make these statement pieces, but not necessarily statement in size. You could still have a cute stud earring, but it could have a really cool design on it. And that's your statement. And so I really wanted to make it about making a statement with your outfit, whether you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt and you add a pair of my earrings and that's what it's all about, or you use my earrings to complement a beautiful outfit that you already have on. And so that's kind of what I use to differentiate. And with the Instagram algorithm, since I'm so wrapped up in this clay world, my Instagram has kind of taken a shift with my explore page. And so sometimes it can be a pro and a con. It's really great to be able to see all these other people that are making it a business. And I believe that there's a space in this clay earring community for everybody. But it's also hard because you can see designs that you already made and or you were thinking of making. And so, you don't want to copy anybody in their work, but it's a really interesting place to be in. And definitely being on Etsy does have its pros and cons as well, but it's kind of essentially just like a big marketplace. So instead of, having my own website, which would be in reality a store on a street where there's no other stores. My shop is basically a shop in a mall. And so, there's other competition. They get served different ads for clay earrings. And so it's a difficult one. And I think since I'm in the beginning, I'm still navigating that and still trying to see what works best for my customers and for potential customers. But I think what I'm doing right now has been working pretty good. So I'm going to stick with that. And then, of course, be able to utilize what I'm learning in classes and hopefully apply that to my business.
Seems you do a lot of user testing to really find what your particular audience wants and likes, while also staying true to your vision, which is those more statement pieces as you were describing. So what's, finding that balance of making statement pieces, but also designs that relate to your audience. And yeah, I think it's easy for small businesses and even, me with my podcast to get caught up in what the quote unquote competition is doing. But I think yes, it's important to understand who else is out there, who else is perhaps selling, clay earrings or whatever the product is, but understand that that doesn't mean there isn't room for you and your business, right? You just got to
Yes.
keep pushing through and finding your audience and tailoring to your audience and holding them true to your heart, and you should find success that way.
No,
Yeah.
I totally, totally agree with you. I think if there's something that you're passionate about and you feel that, oh, this space is overcrowded or nobody's going to want to listen to me or purchase from me or watch me, it's like you never know who's out there waiting for somebody like you to be able to create something for them to, enjoy. And so I totally agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. Do you only sell on Etsy right now? And also, where do you ship your products?
So, when I first started, since I had made my Etsy a little bit further into this journey, I was selling directly on Instagram or, just to my friends and family, kind of word of mouth. But right now, specifically, I do sell strictly on Etsy. People typically will, DM or message asking for custom orders. So that's also something that I work on as well. But all the
Oh.
transactions go through Etsy just so I can have just stay organized with all the numbers and the business and whatnot.
Hmm.
But Yeah, so it's just strictly on Etsy. And that's been an interesting challenge on its own, trying to figure out, how to put your products out there so they stand out and whatnot with all the back end stuff of Etsy.
Mhm. Yeah.
But if you could remind me of the second part of your question.
Oh, where do you ship?
Oh, so I ship worldwide.
Oh,
It's
awesome.
actually very fun. I have received my first few international orders, which when I
Wow.
got them, I was ecstatic. Of course, when I get any order, I'm like freaking out, and I tell my husband, I'm like, I got another order." But what I did, I found this idea on TikTok actually, which has been a great resource for being a small business owner, which is kind of weird. I had no idea that that was going to be where it led me to, but I saw this idea on TikTok, and so if you have an iPad that has accessible to Procreate, and so I have the Apple Pencil, and so I drew out. Basically traced a map of the US, so that's where I live, and I traced it out. And anytime I got an order from a new state, I would color in the state. And so I had recently, been getting a lot of orders thanks to an influencer that happened to show my earrings in a small business video that she created, which I'm so, so, so grateful for. And we can talk about that more later. But I was, coloring in the map. And, after I'd packaged all the orders, I was coloring in the map and going through like, oh, Kansas, New York, New Jersey. And then I was like, Vienna, Austria, and I was just in this mode of, coloring in all the states, and I was like, "Wait, that's not even like, that's crazy." And so, it's like somebody from Austria is going to be, like, wearing my earrings, and so I've had a few since then, and it's been so cool to, just be able to package that out and write a little extra note in there saying, "You're my first customer from," wherever they're from, and so definitely do ship worldwide. So anybody listening that is not from the US, I will make it possible for you to have a pair of Soleil and Clay earrings.
That is so cool. Congratulations on
Thank
those
you.
international orders. That's amazing. Yeah, I totally understand the map coloring in because for the podcast on Podbean, which is what hosts the podcast, they
Mhm.
give you a map of where people are listening to your podcast. And every time I get a new state or a new, yeah, like country, I'm like, yes, another state.
Yeah, it's so
Totally understand that.
it sounds so weird because it's like, they're all just people, wanting some
Right.
clay earrings or wanting to listen to a podcast, but it's so cool, somebody from a different background or different culture is wanting to incorporate you in their
Mhm.
life. It's really neat.
Yeah, it really, really is. It's an awesome feeling. So yeah, that influencer who featured you was Sierra Schultze, correct?
Yes, she is
That's
awesome. I
awesome.
love her.
Yeah, I do too. I've been a big fan of her, and that's how I found you and your business in Soleil and Clay was through that video. And yeah, what was that experience like? I'm just curious myself because I think that's so cool. That's such an awesome opportunity. She has millions of followers.
Yes, I know. So I've been a fan of her for a few years, and I love what she stands for. I love the type of content that she puts out, and I love how she's true to herself. And I want to say it was only, I think, 3 weeks after I actually officially started my
Okay.
business, and so she previously, a few months ago, she had made a video, where she was featuring small businesses from her, her followers, her audience, and I was like, "Wow, that's such a neat idea that an influencer with so many followers online would take the time to give back and feature somebody that's a lot smaller." And you don't really see that on the internet. And it's usually people of the same level coming together to collaborate. And so she had posted a story on her Instagram, and I remember I was actually in the bathroom, which is so weird because I this is something that will always just be with me. And I was, looking on Instagram, and I saw her ask, "Hey guys, if you're a small business owner, DM me, tell me what you sell, and I'm really excited to be able to make another video." And I was like, ultra speed mode, like typing a DM to her, and I sent the DM, and I was like, if it'll be, it'll be. I'm that type of person. And so within, I think, 5 minutes, she DM'd me back. And
Wow.
I was clearly not expecting it because, I mean, she has like probably thousands of DMs just like flooding into her all the time. And
Mhm.
so she DM'd me and I just remember like my whole body just like got the chills and I was like, okay, let me read this. Like, is this a dream? And she basically told me that she loved my shop. I told her kind of more about my mission and what I want to do with Soleil and Clay. And I told her I was a new business and told her more about myself. And she was like, I love it and I want to feature you. And I remember just freaking out. And so from there, we were kind of just in communication about when the video was going to come out. And so she placed an order, which was so sweet of her, and got that ready, shipped it out to her, and she made the video. And she asked all of us in the video, I think she featured about 8 of us,
Mhm.
and asked all of us to kind of just make a video introducing our company and our products. And so it was so neat to be able to do that. And video is something that I love to do. I have my own YouTube channel on the side,
Oh,
which I've
nice.
kind of put on the back burner with everything going on. So it was just so neat to be able to be a part of that and just so grateful because that completely transformed my business. And without that mention and her loving my products, I would be very, very far back in this process. And so I expressed my gratitude in any way that I could through social media. And so it's just been a crazy adventure. And actually, yesterday she included me in another YouTube video.
Oh.
And so I was not expecting that at all. And I started getting notifications that I was getting a little bit more traction on Instagram. And then I happened to go on YouTube later in the day and I was like, oh
Mhm.
wow, like that's so cool. So she had wore a pair of earrings that I made for her and actually named after her in the
Mm.
video and had my links in there in her description. And so very sweet of her. Very grateful. And I wish more influencers would do this with their audience.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool idea. And not just for a business, but that actually sells a product, but their Instagrams or their
Mhm.
YouTube channels. I think it's you have this platform and to be able to use it to help other people grow and not view them as a competition or want them to have the same amount of success as you, I think it's so awesome. And I think it truly speaks to her and her heart and her character.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's just such an amazing opportunity. I'm so happy for you. That's just
Yep.
so awesome. I don't know. I love that. And I love that she does that as well because I'm sure she gets so many like PR packages from really huge companies who are already very very established, and I don't know. I'm assuming it doesn't take much time for someone to make a purchase from a small business, right? And even just post on Instagram about it. And of course, she goes above and beyond and makes an entire YouTube video on it. But yeah, I think it's incredible. It just really shows how she gives back to her followers and her audience, and that's her way of sending the love right back, which is incredible. It really helps her
Yes.
community. It's awesome.
It's awesome. I will forever be grateful to her and just helping her kind of get my business kind of off the ground and into the eyes of just some more people. And so definitely grateful. And I don't know if Sierra ever happens to listen to this. Thank you, girl. I
I hope she listens to this.
I appreciate it more than I can even say. And so yeah, I'll stop there before I keep rambling too much.
No, that's awesome, and I love hearing your experience about it. It's just awesome to hear about. So I'm interested in knowing where you're hoping to take Soleil and Clay, and what are your goals for the business?
Yeah, so clearly before I never really thought of it as a business. I just kind of was like, oh, it's a hobby. Like before
Mhm.
this whole thing with Sierra kind of featuring me and whatnot, I was like, oh, maybe it'll die down. Like, and I'll just, whenever I go back to work, I'll kind of just let it be the end of it. But I think now it's really changed my idea of what work should be
Hmm.
and should be for all of us. And I have never, and I don't consider this like a job or I have to put in so many hours or I have to
Mhm.
create this product because being an Etsy seller or being a small business owner that is slow made. So all my products, since they're made by hand, they do take a tremendous amount of time. And so they're usually in small batches and they take me about a week or so to make. And I had no idea that I could be so happy doing something that I love to do and that is I'm able to make a living off of this. And so I would love to continue to grow this business in, being able to devote more time to it, to make more product. And right now I'm currently in the process of designing new products for my business that are all clay based. And so I'm really excited about that. I've been trying them out and before I actually launch them. And so I think for me, I realized, having this time away from my actual job
Hmm.
that I could be so much happier and I am in control of work. I don't have to let work control me or I don't have to let somebody else control my work. And I know that is an extreme luxury. And I've never had this feeling before, but I think I've really found something that I'm extremely passionate about. And I'm a person that's passionate about so many things and wants to be involved in so many different things. But for me, this is something that I think it kind of just clicked in my mind. And I was like, I was telling, my husband and my family and friends, I really don't want to do anything else. Like, if I
Mhm.
had the opportunity to not go back to work, which I would have to be very fortunate and lucky to continue to grow my business, but if I had that opportunity, I think I would take it in a heartbeat. And I've loved every second of it, and it really doesn't feel like work, even when you're, dealing with customer service issues or you're dealing with taxes and all this stuff that you don't even think about when you're starting a small business, which is like a whole other thing. But I haven't been so happy and so fulfilled, even though other jobs that I've had have included, some of my greatest passions. But I think it's really different when you get to work for yourself and you get to establish what you want the world to know and see about you. And so it's been a very fulfilling process, and I hope to just continue growing that in however long this kind of community will have me and want to be able to purchase from me and support from me. I will take that in a heartbeat. And so that's kind of where I see it now. And in the past, I've been the type of person to need a plan, every single aspect
Mhm.
of my life out. And it's never worked the way that I wanted it to. And so I think I'm kind of trying to just be relaxed, let it be what it needs to be, and just hope that at the end of the day, if it ever does come to an end, that I just feel content with what I got to create and what I got to put out there. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now in my headspace, but definitely would love to continue growing it, making more products, and just, serving the community and my customers better than I am now.
That is so awesome to hear. I love when people are truly so fulfilled by their job or their passion or whatever they're pursuing. And I do truly believe you can find a job that relates to your passions and truly does fulfill you. And that can be hard to find. I'm not
Yes.
not saying it's easy, and circumstances will, either help us find that or make it difficult to find that, but yeah, and I know you mentioned, I believe you were furloughed from your job, and what a way to
Yep.
turn that into this opportunity. I mean, look what you were able to turn that into, and that's just incredible. Just taking that and seeing what you could do with it and where you could go. Yeah, really loving your story, and I'm so happy you were able to turn that into an opportunity and find your passion and find what makes you happy. Being able to also provide for yourself and your family as well. That's that's always a bonus.
Yes, I know. I think being, I would kind of classify myself more as a creative type of person where there's not always,
Mhm.
set jobs. You're kind of freelancing. You never really have something that is kind of solid. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of experience to kind of get to that point. And so to be able to have this and be like, wow, I can maybe support, my family well in the future as I would,
Mhm.
in an actual job, working full time 40 hours a week. And I think it's so neat that we I think the way the world wants to, help small business owners. And I think it's so neat. And definitely I've seen other small business owners wanting to help other small business owners. And it's so neat. This clay earring community, I found so many great resources online of other clay creators that are sharing resources and sharing tips on, how to make a better earring or how to work with
Right.
your clay better. And I think that is so awesome. And again, you don't see that often, in, big corporations. Of course, everything's all about competition, but I think it's so neat that people that have this common passion are, coming together to be able to help each other out. And I think it's so neat that happens and people
Hmm.
want to help others, and it's not all about me and how can I grow from this. And I hope that, I know right now no other clay businesses are really probably looking to me for advice, but that'd be so cool to be able to offer that to, somebody else
Hmm.
that's starting out small, and just to be able to give back, because so many people have been able to give to me and help
Hmm.
me in my business. I would love to be able to give back, and support them.
Excellent. Yeah, the small business communities are incredible. I mean, even with my podcast, I know it's a little different because you're not really selling anything, so there's a little
Mhm.
less competition there, but it still is a very quote unquote saturated market. But I've noticed, there's small podcasts. They follow me all the time, and I want to follow them back, and I do.
Yeah.
And we comment on each other's posts, and it's not whose podcast is better than whose, or I'm not going to follow you because that gives you one more follow and not me. Like, it's just such a supportive community, and I've noticed that on Instagram as well. My explore page will turn into, I think right now I am on like the clay community, the clay earring community explore page, because I've just been liking a lot of those photos, and everyone's just so supportive. It's really awesome to see. It's not as scary as I thought it would be, jumping into like creating a podcast or in whatever small business community, because everyone really does want to support each other as far as I've seen.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully we don't run into those
Yeah.
people, but we'll just keep surrounding ourselves with people that that just want to help and just be supportive. And I think that that's an awesome quality to have, just as a person, but also for your business. And I think that it really shows your audience what you stand for and who you are. But yeah, it's super cool. I think it's awesome, and it's a great way to just be able to, once again, give back to other people that are just starting, or maybe that have really great success, but you're just helping them out a little bit more.
Yep, exactly. Agreed. So you mentioned, you're a very creative person, were and possibly still am like a freelancer. And I'm interested in your other passions. I know you have a degree in journalism and integrated media. You're pursuing your master's in social media, you mentioned. What are your other passions outside of Soleil and Clay, and how did they help your business when starting a small business? Just interested in your other passions and areas of interest.
Of course. So I studied journalism. Specifically, my emphasis within the department was broadcast journalism. And so, pretty much, I want to say, since I was a child, I would watch the news, and I'd watch Barbara Walters with my grandma at night. And I was like, wow, I want to do that. That's so cool. And
Mm,
I really dove into it in high school and really practiced it. And when I got to college, I was like, okay, I know this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, very naive. But I studied that, and I had a lot of internships around radio and television broadcast, and that really went heavy into social media. And so I actually, a few days before graduation, had turned down my dream job offer to be a television news reporter up in Washington State. And I'm from California, Southern California, born and raised here, never lived anywhere else. And so, with this kind of broadcast news industry, you typically it works in markets. So it all depends on
okay.
population and who's watching TV, to kind of give you just like a little glimpse of it. So the biggest, news stations would be New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Houston, Chicago. And so
Hmm.
in these big cities, typically somebody that's right out of college is never going to kind of hop into that market, as kind of what you would say. And so you typically start in a small city, somewhere where there's not a lot of people. And for me, I think I just felt like I wasn't ready to make that jump and to make that commitment. You sign a contract for a certain amount of years, typically 2 to 3 years. And
Okay.
something in me just told me this is not for you. And
Mm,
I think, as I had previously mentioned, I'm the type of person to want to plan out every aspect of my life. And so to kind of have this internal change in me after all these years of knowing this is what I want to do and, thinking I'm ready to move, a few days after graduation,
Mm,
I think I knew in myself and I think I knew that it wasn't right for me. And, as these almost 3 years now that I've been graduated, I have those pieces of the puzzle have slowly started to come together of why I wasn't meant to be in that, news industry. And
mhm.
so in the beginning, it was really hard for me. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? And, after I declined that offer, I kind of just took a leap of faith and was like, I'm gonna try to get a production assistant job in Los Angeles, which is it's essentially like an intern, but
Okay.
you're not in school. It's kind of, just your job and people make it a whole career. So it really can take you far. But I was like, I'll just, try to look for work as a production assistant for, TV or news. And I will tell you, I applied to probably close to 200 places
Wow.
within the year after I graduated. And so I live in Southern California. So kind of the hub spot for this would kind of be, Los Angeles and the surrounding area. And it is incredibly hard to get yourself into the, entertainment and media industry. And I have other friends that, are still trying to break in and or that have just got their first job after, 2 years of being graduated. And
Mhm.
it was really disheartening, and it takes a lot to take the rejection over and over when you know that you're capable for the job, but there's so many other people that are just as capable or even more that are, it's their time to have that opportunity. And so it was really hard for me. And during that year, I kind of just felt like I had made the wrong decision. But now,
Right.
years later, that I've been able to experience and been able to do other passions like videography and making YouTube videos and starting this business or taking time to travel and have that luxury is something that I would have never had if I was in
Mhm.
this small town in Washington for 3 years. I think about it, I would still be there if I had gone through and signed the contract. And so I'm so lucky that I took that risk because I think my view of success has changed and my view of, what a career looks like and definitely how other people view you has definitely changed. I've always been a people pleaser type of person, wanting to be the best at whatever it is I decide and stick with that and have that be my lifelong career and have people know me for that one thing. And I think my idea of that changed and so many of my other passions were coming out and having that opportunity to be able to work on them, whether it was, shooting my friend's wedding video. And that was so cool. And, I'd kind of been getting the video bug to kind of want to make a video. And so they didn't have a wedding videographer and I just offered my services up to them. I was like, I just want to, try it out and just see how it goes. And it was so neat. And I got to work on that video with one of my close friends that also is kind of in media, and it was so cool. And just to be able to provide that, for my friends, and hopefully one day provide that for other people, I think is so awesome. And so super into video, trying to get into photo a little bit more, but I typically am more of a video person. But yeah, just arts and crafts and DIYs. I pretty much planned my whole wedding and DIY'd as much of it as I could because I really wanted to. And so, me taking that risk and me realizing what success really looks like to me and not letting other people's opinion of my career or the fact that, I'm 24 and I haven't actually had a job in what I studied, not let that get to me and really just know what's right for me. And it's been a journey. I can't say that it's been easy, and I know that it's easier for some people, but yeah, if you're, in the same situation that I'm in, and I just, I guess my advice is to just take the risk if you have the option to, and if it's something that you're really passionate about, and go for it. You shouldn't let anybody stop you, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I really love that message. And it seems you just trusted your gut with denying that job in Washington. And I think more people need to do that, especially as they're on their career path and trying to find that perfect job for them or that job that fulfills them the most. And I wonder if many people think that trusting your gut means making rash decisions and just flying off the seat of your pants or something. But it doesn't have to be, right? You can follow your gut and still consider the situation, consider the risk, and analyze that and internalize that, and then make your decision. It doesn't have to be just a quick 30-second decision that you haven't thought about, but trusting that gut feeling and then working off of that as strategically as you'd like. That's possible and that's doable. And I think more people need to do that as they continue on their career paths.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I think for me, I always had the mindset, "Oh, when I graduate, I'm gonna have this job, and,
Hmm.
by 28, I'm gonna be, there for so many years, and then I'll get married, and then I'll do this." And I think we put so much pressure on what you have to have completed by, like, a certain age, or what you
Yeah.
shouldn't have done by a certain age, and like I said, that really, changed my perspective. My husband and I are high school sweethearts, so we've been together for 7 years this year, and so, I always told him when we were, in college and high school, "I'm not gonna marry you until I'm 28 because, I need to work on my career and making sure that
Mhm.
it's right and that, we're able to support ourselves financially." And I I was raised by a single mom and also my grandparents, and I was the first person in my family to go to college, first generation Hispanic student, and so I always had this in my mind that I had to do this to help my family and kind of be the example for everybody that kind
Mhm.
of came after me. And I got so really wrapped up in that and really, started to let it affect me. And then I realized that I don't have to follow this plan, by 22, I'm going to have my career, and 28, I'm going to be married, and 30, you'll have kids. I kind of had this idea of what a perfect life would be. And I think really quickly I learned that that's not what it was. I got married,
Mhm.
ended up getting married at 22. And it's now, looking back on it, it couldn't have been a better time. And I think I know that everything happens for a reason,
Mhm.
whether good or bad. And so, yeah, it's again, it's been an interesting journey, but if you're in that, and if you're listening to this right now, and you are kind of in this my headspace of, should I do this or should I take the risk? I think if it's possible for you to take the risk, and you can make it possible, and you feel that that's what you're supposed to do, I say go
Mhm.
for it.
Yep.
And if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I would have said the complete opposite thing. So if I can do it and if I can make it work, then
Mhm.
you can too, and you will find people that do support you and that
Right.
will continue to support you.
That's great advice. And I think an important phrase you said there is if you can take the risk and if it's possible or if you can make it possible. Because there are certain situations where you can't just quit that job that's
Oh,
providing
of
for your
course.
family or whatever it is. So I think that's a really important distinction. And that makes me think of the term like you can be a realistic dreamer, right? Like you can follow your passions, but still understand the reality of your situation and make decisions off of both of those facts. So,
Oh,
yeah, I think this
yes.
I when you were speaking, I was thinking this is also like a call to action to pause and reflect for, anyone listening, including myself, on is your job or wherever you're at in your life, like, are you happy? And it's important to pause every once in a while and really ask yourself that question and really think that through. And of course, every single job has that bad day, that bad week, maybe even a couple weeks. It can be just stressful. Every job experience that, but are you happy and are you fulfilled by your job? And if no, why not? And what can you do? What actions can you take to change that? I think that's an important call that more people should just take that time to reflect on that.
Of course. I 100% agree. And I think that goes for everybody, young and old.
Mhm.
If you're 40 or 45 and you've been in your career, for about 20 years, and if that's not fulfilling you and that's not making you happy, I think that if you evaluate it and you know that you can make it possible to be able to either find a new job or find a new career path, or hey, go back to school.
Right.
I'm a huge advocate for higher education, and I think that it's go to school if you really want to. You want to try something new. Like, if you can make it possible, and I know that it's not easy for some people and it's not feasible for some people, but if you can do it, or in, let's say, 2 years, you can come back to this idea and kind of revisit, maybe I can take this leap, maybe I can take this jump. I think at some point there will be an opportunity for you, if you're not happy or if you're not fulfilled. And I know some people that love their job, and my husband, he's a chemical engineer, and I don't understand science or math at all, so don't even ask me really what he does, but he loves his job, and
Hmm.
he's fulfilled by his job, and I'm like, "That's so awesome." Like, I wish I could have been like you, would have made life easier, but here we are. But I think, everybody's different, and I think just respect
Right.
that, and if there's other people that are telling you, like, "No, you shouldn't," I think take that into consideration and ask yourself, well, how well do they know me? Do they really care about
Right.
my well-being? And you'll find your support system.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. No, couldn't agree more. And feedback is definitely a gift, but you can choose to accept it or deny it, and that's totally your call. And that's yeah, I think a lot of people think they need to take in what all the feedback they're given, but no, you don't. You can deny some feedback and not accept it. That's okay. So you've had many, many experiences in many different areas and industries, ever since graduating college and also in college, just throughout your life in general. So through all those experiences, what have you found are, say, perhaps your top 2 to 3 best practices for balancing your work, running your business, enjoying life, also exploring your other passions? What are those top 2 to 3 best practices?
Yes. So I think number one, the biggest thing for me, there's so many things, like I said, I'm passionate about, and I wish I could do all of them. And I wish I had the time
Mhm.
to do all of them. But I think my biggest tip is, if you're somebody like me and you want to focus on one thing, and you have a job and you're going to school, and you want to be able to make all these things work and, be successful, and whatever success looks like for you, I think you have to be realistic with yourself and kind of set your goals for what that looks like for that one specific thing. So for me, what's my goal for my earring business? What's my goal for wanting to finish school? When do I want to finish it? What is the realistic time frame that I can finish it? I think I've had to learn that the hard way. And there's been a lot of long nights and tears of feeling the need that I have to accomplish all these things. But I think being realistic with yourself, and that's okay. And I love the term that you said, realistic dreamer. You can have all these dreams, and you can want to be able to work in all these things, or make something, or work on something, or better yourself, or take a class on how to do a certain task or work on a certain topic. But I think be realistic with what you can handle as a person. Some people can handle more than others, and some people can handle one thing at a time, and that's okay, and
Yep.
that's who you are. But I would say my first thing is definitely to be realistic. And second is, of course, cliche, but you have to be organized, and organized in whatever way works for you. To me, I personally have a planner. I like to write pen and paper. If you like to have your calendar on your phone, and kind of have, if you work, if you go to school, you have a set time of when you're going to be working on, this extra thing that you want to put your time into. I think staying organized with time is a big thing, time management, and then also staying organized in your life. So I run Soleil and Clay out of my 700 square foot apartment, which is very small. And it is a mission, to say the least, to try to stay organized, on top of wanting your place to feel like a home and not like a workshop. Or
Right.
so it's definitely a challenge. But I drove myself down to IKEA and I got some shelving units and organized all my stuff in there. So whatever way organization looks like for you, figure that out. And when you have a process that works for you, it will be easy to stay in that process. So I definitely say be realistic, stay organized, and third, I think I would have to say is go at your own pace. I know that,
Okay.
with I'm sure with you with this podcast, it's sometimes it can seem like, oh, like kind of we went back to like, oh, somebody's growing faster than me or somebody's
Hmm.
selling more earrings than me. And I think it's okay to go at your own pace. It's okay to set that time for yourself, whether, and this kind of all goes back to the previous two things that I said, but let's say that day you're not feeling good and you were supposed to record your podcast, or I was supposed to make a certain batch of earrings. If I know that tomorrow I have time to do that, like take your time and don't feel rushed to have to hit certain milestones to be quote unquote successful.
Yeah.
And I think you should take the time to define what success looks like for you. And going back to when I found out that Sierra was going to mention me in this video, a few of the business owners that she had previously mentioned in her previous video, they had, kind of reached out to me and said, this is going to change your business like forever. And to me, I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe people don't want clay earrings, or maybe they already are buying them from another shop. And my husband was like, do you have a goal for yourself? And I said, if I sold one pair of earrings, I would be ecstatic that, I had that opportunity and Sierra gave me that opportunity. So,
Hmm.
and my goal was far reached, which I am so grateful for. But I think to be realistic, set organization and what that looks like for you, and then also go at your own pace and
Hmm.
don't let anybody rush you to have to hit those milestones.
All of these three pieces of advice and best practices are very near and dear to my heart. I completely relate to all of them, and you stated them so beautifully. And I feel like they all three of those relate to really knowing yourself and
Mhm.
knowing, what is being realistic mean to you and what does staying organized mean to you and going at your pace. I love that because everyone is on their unique journey. And it's just, yeah, such a great point. And with every small business, with every passion, with every job, you're going to go at a different pace and you're going to have a different version of reality than the person next to you. And that's what
Yes.
makes life so awesome is you can, set your own unique path. Yeah, those
Yeah.
were stated very, very nicely. Thank you for sharing those. I love those three pieces of advice.
Thank you. I hope they help somebody.
Yeah. Well, they at least will help me. So there you go. You at least have one person.
There you go. I met my goal. It helps one
Yes,
person. See, you
exactly.
just you start small and then
Mm-hmm.
you work your way up, and if it takes
Right.
a year to work your way up, let it be.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And knowing what success means to you and what's important to you. Is
Mhm.
it, for myself, is success 100 listens on the podcast? No, honestly, success to me is just that people want to sit down and talk to me for an hour. And
Yeah,
that's awesome as is, right? That's
that's
what
all.
I love about the podcast. And for you, what does success mean to you for your business? And yeah, everyone just you have a unique journey and that's good. That's a good thing. So my last big question for you, Endless, is in this moment, what is your proudest accomplishment? So can be related to Soleil and Clay or not at all, can be from yesterday or from 10 years ago. Right now, what is your proudest accomplishment?
I think that for me, I could, easily say being the first person in my family to graduate from
Mm.
college, which is a huge, huge, huge accomplishment. And that's something that I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to even go to college. But I think for me, looking back from where I'm at now, where I feel the most proud of myself is saying no to a job and a career path that was so steady and that would have been able to provide for myself my whole life. Saying no to that and taking that leap of faith and not knowing where it was going to take me, not knowing where I would be now, I would have the opportunity to pursue my master's and now start this business. I think looking back, without that moment in my life, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And I wouldn't view the world as I do today. So I think looking back, when I see something that I'm proud of, is turning down that job and knowing myself well enough to know that I can make something else work for me, and knowing that it was going to be hard, it was going to be a long journey ahead, and it's still a journey, and I'm still trying to figure it out and piece it together. But I would have to say that, which is a weird thing to say, but it's helped shape who I am and my passions that I'm able to work on now.
Definitely an amazing accomplishment, and congratulations on all your successes you've had so far. And I'm really
Thank
looking
you.
forward to see you, where you can take Soleil and Clay. And I know you'll have many more successes and many more milestones to accomplish. So congratulations on all that you've achieved so far.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know in the grand scheme of things it's not much, but again, for me, I'm so happy and I'm so content like with where I am. And like I tell everybody, like my friends and family, if I never sell another pair of earrings, I know that I'm content with what I made with Soleil and Clay. And so hopefully I can just continue to grow it and just make it better and be able to create things for more people to wear, which is such a cool thing.
For sure, for sure. No, I love it. So before we sign off here, Endless, where can people find you and Soleil and Clay on social medias, and what's the your Etsy website as well?
Yes, so our Etsy shop is just soleilandclay, .etsy.com.
Okay.
And all of our social media is just Soleil and Clay. So you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram. And then I actually just made a TikTok. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit more behind the scenes of making earrings and what that process looks like. And so, like I said before, if you're a small business owner and you haven't been on TikTok, I was kind of boycotting it because I was like, I'm too old for this. Like, there's just teenagers on here, but it's really awesome. And just search hashtags, and that's been a great resource for me. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Soleil and Clay. And for me, if you're interested in following along in my journey, you can find me on Instagram at Anywhere She Goes. So my nickname is Neennie, and then Where She Goes. And from there, if you want, you can find links to my YouTube channel and whatnot. There's nothing good on there right now, but I have a few pieces of wisdom on there if you're looking for that. I've shared my story a little bit more in detail. So
Mm.
if you're looking to get to know me a little bit more, my journey after graduating college and then working at a theme park, you can find that
Ooh.
there. I'll leave you with that. But yeah, so that's where you can find me on the social space.
Perfect. Well, I hope everyone checks out Endless and Soleil and Clay. And thank you so much again, Endless, for chatting with me here today. I really enjoyed just sitting down and having virtual coffee with you and being able to hear your story. So thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for having me. I'm so glad that you reached out, and this is my first time on a podcast. So there's
Ooh.
a thing that I could check off on a list of cool things I've done. So I again just so grateful that you allowed me to be on here and that you're taking the time to get to share other people's stories. I think that's so awesome. And being a storyteller myself, I love that. And I wish you
Awesome.
nothing but the best with this podcast. And I'm so excited to see where you go in your journey.
Thank you, Endless. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.